So one of the most puzzling aspects of the current ongoing debate about coronavirus testing in Japan is that although people do admit that the number of testing is insufficient, some people take it really personally, meaning that any criticisms of the Japan's handling of the coronavirus pandemic would amount to uh, you know, the criticism of the nation of Japan itself. Some people say it's not patriotic to argue that the number of testing in Japan is not sufficient, which is a real puzzler for me. And some people cite that the fact that the number of reported deaths from coronavirus pandemic is much lower than in Japan compared to other nations. And some people cite that uh, evidence as a testimony of the fact that the Japan's handling of the coronavirus pandemic is excellent compared to other nations such as the United Kingdom and the United States. Well, this kind of phenomenon can depend on many parameters. Uh, the Japanese people might have some genetic traits or immunological conditions that make them more resistant to this terrible disease. So that the apparent fact that the number of deaths in Japan is lower than compared those in other nations might be due to many different factors, and most importantly, nobody can argue for sure that the number of deaths is correlated or causally connected to the number of testing. You cannot say that not many people are dying in Japan from coronavirus because the number of coronavirus testing is insufficient. You cannot say that. But if you look at the social media, some people do argue that way. And these are the same people who say that criticizing Japan for, you know, the number of insufficient coronavirus testing is not patriotic. What a lack of logical thinking here. I know it's happening everywhere in every nation. In the U.S., I'm sure that there will be some, parties of people who argue against and for the perceived inefficiency of President Trump's policy in the wake of coronavirus pandemic. But I'm seeing it happening here in Japan, and to me, it's a testimony of the fact that humans are not necessarily thinking rationally. In such a time of crisis, humans tend to think irrationally. Actually, because of this irrational thinking, some people do think that criticizing the government for the number of insufficient number of testing is not patriotic, which is a real puzzle for me. But anyway, that's what's happening in Japan right now, and I sometimes feel that I need to reflect on those kind of fears in order to keep me rational, because you need to sort things out, otherwise you lose the whole picture.